Hello, 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 and welcome back to Reality Rights. I am author Ellie Alexander, and I'm here with the tech guy, and we're finally back.
Are we back?
I don't know. Are we back?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Too long.
But we did a few things in our absence.
Darlings, we have done a few things. We have done things. We're all just also trying to survive. So, it's all good. This is just going to be an everything, everywhere, all at once kind of episode because we've been on hiatus for 2 months now, and we have been missing you all desperately. We thought it would be good to recap the last couple months of adventures, give you a little sneak peek into what's coming, share a bunch of book news, talk about writer things. What else?
Has everybody seen Murderbot?
Oh. Chef is so good.
Yeah, so good.
No.
So good. But before we get started, I want everybody to hit pause. And if you're on your podcasting platform of choice, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, Google, whatever, take a few minutes and just write a review. Give us a rating. If you enjoy the podcast, if it's brought you a smile or given you a tip or anything like that, they really do help. It helps with the algorithm. It helps other listeners be exposed to Reality Rights, and it makes us smile.
Absolutely.
And if you don't like the podcast and has never given you anything, forget everything I just said. And just don't worry about it.
Please go share that. That'd be great. It's fabulous. Hated it. Yeah.
All right, now we're back. After you've written the reviews, we're back.
We're back in action. Yeah. I do think that one of our goals with anything that we share in terms of something like this or my books, I'm sure many of you are feeling the weight of the world. And so I keep circling back into like, what can I offer? And it's always a moment of escape, hopefully a little bit of lightness, a little bit of levity in the midst of all the things, because otherwise we spiral too.
Yeah, and I mean, we love doing this. It's like it brings us joy, that's for sure. But it is a lot of work, and so if you do appreciate it, like, it would be great if you left a review.
So you're back to the reviews. I'm talking serious world. You're back. Leave a damn review, all right? Just leave one for the tech guy so we can get on with it.
Keep saying it, yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive into what we've been up to while we've been on hiatus, and we're sitting in our backyard. It's super windy right now. For starters, we went to Japan.
Yeah, that was an amazing trip. We went just for fun. It was what?
I feel like it was a touch of research for me.
Oh, okay.
Not about books, but about Ashland Mystery Fest, which we will get to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Long flight.
Long flight.
But totally worth it. We spent close to a week in Kyoto, and then the rest of the trip was in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I didn't know this, but Star Wars Celebration just happened in Tokyo.
You had no idea. That wasn't the entire reason we went on the trip. Yeah, exactly.
Good timing. Yeah, that was pretty fantastic to be able to go to Star Wars Celebration again in Tokyo, in Japan.
Okay,
that was awesome.
Here's what I will say about a long flight, though, and this does relate back to reading and writing, because there's a pervasive myth that writers are super famous and super rich. It's not many of those are true commonly. Yes, there are a handful of writers for which that is true, but we did consider at one point when we bought the tickets like a year and a half ago, we just looked to see, like, not even first class, but you know how you can upgrade to like a little bit of extra room in the seat.
Class,
yeah, or like extended room in the seat. And it was a ridiculous amount of money. Like,
it was several $1,000s.
Yeah,
more
where we're like,
because there were 4 of us that went, so
Yeah.
it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so we took Skygan and his partner. And so we were like, should we do it? No, we can't. Like, no, we can't afford that.
We should have.
We should have. In hindsight,
we
it's
could
not
have
worth
afforded it. We just didn't want to because we were like, oh, we want to spend our money on other things. But yeah.
Upgrade the seat. If you have any opportunity, just upgrade the seat when it's an 11-hour flight. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I had some weird nerve thing going on with my shoulder, and so like I was fine until about 2 hours into the like 14-hour flight.
Yeah.
And then it just started aching, like just somebody was just stabbing me in the shoulder, and I couldn't yeah, so that going there was it was bad. But once we arrived, that well, we arrived and we missed our connecting flight to Kyoto. So we were at Tokyo and they were like, we went up to the counter and they're like, oh, yeah, well, the next flight is at 7:30 and or 8:30 and we were like PM and they're like, oh no, AM just and it was like 7:45.
We're like, oh,
So we're like, oh, okay.
we're good. We're good.
Woo. So yeah, and then we flew into Osaka and I mean, right from just immediately I was blown away. Like I've never been in an airport that's that clean before in my life.
The whole experience. And yeah, it was so incredible. Now, the thing for me is almost anytime we travel in the United States, I bring like a notebook, I bring my iPad, I bring all the things thinking like, "Ooh, if I get inspired to write or maybe I'll write." Even if we're just on vacation, usually I end up like taking notes of some kind, or if we're on a road trip, I'm like sketching out a book idea, that kind of thing. I did not open my iPad once. Like it was just like we were so immersed in the moment. But once we got to Tokyo for Star Wars convention,
Star Wars celebration.
oh, sorry. See, Star Wars Celebration. I was taking really copious notes about Ashland Mystery Fest. So obviously, Star Wars Celebration is like on steroids comparatively.
I think that after having lived there for 6 years or so, the town of Ashland would melt if that many people showed up
Right,
up
yeah.
to Ashland Mystery Fest.
Yes.
Star Wars Celebration is not an intimate affair.
No, it's massive. Like probably how many do they know how many it's
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it may have been more this time in Tokyo, but when Luke and I went in, well, I can't remember. It was like 4 or 5 years ago when it was in Anaheim. There were 10,000 people.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously we're not going to have that many people at Ashland Mystery Fest, but I was really paying attention to like some of the cool things that they did for fans, for readers, for darlings, just to like bring you in even more, or the secret surprises or like bonuses that you got just for being at Star Wars Celebration. So we've already been talking and working on some of that in the background.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fantastic. If you ever get a chance, if you haven't been, I highly recommend going to Japan. It's the only place and we've traveled a lot. I mean, we've been to many places in the world, and it's the only place that I've been where you're walking down the street and you'll pass like a 1,500-year-old temple. And then right next to it is like the most modern high-tech building you can imagine,
Yeah.
and but just the fact that like that stuff is preserved right in the heart of the city, is pretty phenomenal. It was a great experience.
Yeah, totally agree.
The flight back was bonkers. I've never like that's the first time we've traveled in that direction across the international date line. So we left Japan at like 5:30, 6 p.m. local time on a Monday, and we got back to San Francisco at like 10:30 a.m. on that same day.
Right. Yeah.
Which was like, it was just hard to wrap your head around. Like you got the whole day back again. So we lived the day twice. I mean, going there, you actually lose a day, so it makes up for it. But time is weird.
Time is a construct. I'm telling you. Like, yeah, that's a whole other book that we could write at some point in terms of sci-fi. But yeah. Okay, so we got back from Japan, and then it was a whirlwind couple of weeks of book stuff, which we'll get to in a minute. And then Sky Guy graduated from college on my birthday. So we had multiple college graduation ceremonies.
He actually graduated the day before and the day of, because he had multiple things, because he's an amazing dude. And he was like the honoree for the School of Design, and then he had the School of Design ceremony, and then the big ceremony. So
many ceremonies. And we had our entire family here for that. And then you went on a hiking getaway with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah, I went for like a week. We did Bryce Canyon, Zion, including the Narrows, which was an amazing hike up the river. We thankfully avoided any flash floods, which is great.
Like that.
And then the Grand Canyon. So that was phenomenal. But
Meanwhile, I was writing like a madwoman during this chunk of time. In this period of time, you also got a new job at your company.
I did. I've like I work in creative operations, and I was hiring for a bunch of roles, and I was responding to a bunch of people who had reached out to me about openings at my company, and the LinkedIn app was like, "Hey, here's a position you might be interested in." And I laughed because it was at my company, and I was like, "Oh, wait, that sounds really interesting, and it's here in Sunnyvale." And so I reached out to the hiring manager. We met, and 2 weeks later, I had the job. So I've been working for the past 2.5 weeks, like just crazy long hours trying to document 3.5 years of a job into one document that I can hand off so somebody else can do my old job now.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been a bit, and I'm learning the new job. So it's, yeah.
NBD. So that's sort of been the quick recap of why we've been on hiatus for a little while.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay, so that in a nutshell is where we've been in terms of our personal life and the gauntlet of activities that we have been on. All good stuff for the most part.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
It's just been a lot.
It's been a lot.
But we survived.
We did it. And now we're so excited to be back here with you, darlings. And so we thought we would discuss a little bit about the projects that I've been working on, what's coming up, and Ashland Mystery Fest, which tickets are on sale right now as we speak. So let's start with a project that almost broke me, I would say.
Yeah, that was.
Have you ever seen me this stressed about writing?
No, in all your years of writing,
Almost 2 decades.
I've always been impressed, and I've always, you're just like, "Oh yeah, I have to do this," and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds horrible," but you're like, you just break it up into pieces and you do it. You do exactly what you tell people in your course to do.
That's right.
But this was different. This was a lot.
This was different. Okay, so the backstory is many of you know, but many of you might not know that my very first series that I wrote, the Pacific Northwest Mysteries, are coming back next month in a new little bit of a refresh, shall we say. So this series is centered around Meg Reed, who is a young reporter who's just literally fresh out of college. She's looking for her first job. She can't land a job because newspapers are dying, and her goal is to be an investigative reporter and work for the New York Times. And she's like sleeping on friends' couches and eating soup and grilled cheese to get by, when she has a fortuitous encounter with the editor-in-chief of Northwest Extreme magazine and bills herself as an intrepid adventurer in order to land a position writing for this adventure publication, when in reality she has not an athletic bone in her body, and her idea of sport is, wandering vintage shops with an iced mocha in hand.
So she lies.
She lies. Yeah. She lies about a lot.
Okay.
She's 23.
Yeah.
I wrote this first book in 2012. So
seems like a long time ago.
It is a long time ago. What is that, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you write it, or was it published in?
I wrote it in 2012. It was published in 2014. Okay. So 11 years ago it was first published. I wrote the first book in 2012. It's an interesting story how I came to write the first book, because prior to this, I had been doing really serious work in the world. So, I worked in speech therapy and an early intervention program with a lot of kids in the foster care system. And then I went to work for the Alzheimer's Association, and I had just written a memoir about losing my mom and becoming a mom. And I really wanted to write a mystery, but I had not considered the fact that I could do it. And every time I would think about, like, well, what do I want to write next? I would be like, ooh, I want to write a mystery. Ooh, I want to write a mystery, because I had read them. He had gotten me a zillion of them over the years.
Yeah. You were a cozy mystery connoisseur.
I was a
for sure.
connoisseur. connoisseur. If it was on the shelf, I had read it.
Right. And I mean, I've probably told this story before. Some of the darlings out there have probably heard this, but honestly, like you read so many of them that if it wasn't for Sky Guy's help, like every time we went to the store, I'd pull one out and go, oh, I don't know if it, and he's like, no, Dad, she hasn't read that one yet. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, no, because the one that she's read, the dog was over on the left side of her cover, and he like had them all memorized because he's a freaking genius.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
so we never got you a duplicate that I remember.
No, I think you guys did well. But I had been thinking like, okay, I want to write a mystery, but I have no idea what I want to write about and what would it be centered around. And we were out in the Columbia River Gorge on a hike at Angel's Rest. And I have also told this story a million times, but this car pulled up in the trailhead next to us and like 5 or 6 burly like Oregon mountain men get out. And then this young woman who was like dressed in pink got out with them. And I was like, who is she? I don't understand. I think I asked probably 20 zillion questions about her in my head on the hike up to the top. And then we got up to the top, which is about 2,000 feet. And from the view up there, you can see all of the Columbia River and the Washington side of the gorge. And I just thought, like, this would be a pretty great place to murder someone.
Yeah.
I think I probably said that out loud, too. Right?
As you often do.
As I often do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any of them hurt us, though, thankfully.
Hopefully not. Good. Yeah. So I came back and I just, like, Meg Reeve, this intrepid journalist, like, came to my mind and I just started writing the book. Now, I also, at the same time, had been taking writing classes. I had read every mystery I could. Once I decided this was going to become a mystery, I got every book on how to write a mystery. Like, I did all the things. I, like, fully immersed myself. But I got to the point in the story where the murder happens, where somebody pushes the victim off the top of the cliff, and I did not know what would happen because this is not in the middle of Portland or a city. It's out in the middle of nowhere in the gorge. And so I just called up the Hood River County Sheriff's Office, and I was like, hey, if someone were to fall off of the top of Angel's Rest, what would you do? And okay, I have not written a book at this point in time. I don't have an agent. I'm no one to them. And they were so polite and gave me all kinds of information.
I think your actual question was like, if someone were to fall off the top of Angel's Rest, how long would it take for you to respond to the emergency?
That was
meaning, like, how long would I have to get away?
That's what I write. Exactly.
It's amazing you weren't arrested.
It is amazing that I wasn't arrested. But that kind of launched it. And I wrote that whole book. I pitched it. I landed an agent, and we were off to the races.
Yeah, and that book launch, like thinking back on it, that was crazy. Like the news came, like it was a whole party. It was like, yeah, that was fun. And we were like, whoa, this is going to be something. And here we are, what, 13, 14 years later.
Yep. Although that series kind of fizzled and died its own little sweet death. So it has been out of print for a few years.
Quite some time, actually, for several of the books in the series, because there are 5, right? And 2 of them haven't been in print for like 6 or 7 years now.
Exactly.
Because you'll often get messages from people like, hey, where's this one? And you're like, I can't find it either.
Yeah. And some great like bookseller friends over the years who supported me early on with the series and then couldn't get the books into the store.
Right.
So I got the rights back, which was very exciting. Yay.
That took a while too.
That did. And then my publishing house in the UK was like, hey, we'd be interested in doing this with you. And I was like, okay, great. Little did I know how much work it was going to entail to go back through this series. So I have read those 5 books 5 times in some iteration of edits in the last 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So 25 takes all told.
But not just reading them.
No,
you're doing work each time you're reading them. So it's not, because you're a very fast reader,
yes.
But you can't speed read these because you're looking for edits, like things like lattes costing like $3, $2, like, yeah. Oh, to be 13 years younger,
I wish.
Yeah. That's like more than double now. So, well, $2 if you had triple. No, it's even more than that.
Yeah.
It's probably quadruple now in
Exactly.
some areas, like here in the Bay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a cautionary tale to any of you darlings who are writing something. The other thing that I learned in this process of looking back, well, I learned a lot. It's been a little painful to go back and read my first series. And also really it's been humbling, I should say, because I'm like, okay, my writing has grown like anything does with time and
Yeah,
experience and
practice.
practice, right? So there's that piece, but also there were so many cultural references, pop culture references, social media references, money references, technology references that do not hold up at all. So one lesson that I have learned that I would love to impart, unless you're trying to write something that is truly going to just be like a snapshot in a particular moment of time, just try to be much more generic, because it would be things like news was breaking on Snapchat or somebody had a pager still or like flip phones or
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess what do you recommend for writers out there? Like if there if specific dates are mentioned if the date is like specific to or important to the story, then it's probably okay to include that stuff because then the reader's in that mindset.
right.
But if there's no date and it's supposed to be set like in present day and you talk about somebody's pager going off.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some darlings that are like, "What the hell is a pager?"
Exactly, right?
Like,
I wonder, like, what is a pager? You had a pager, like, back in the day? That was, like, cutting edge. Right.
But I mean, then they should probably be more generic, right? They should
Right.
like but because if something is supposed to be set in a certain time period, you don't want to be generic because you do want that kind of nostalgic reference, right?
Sure. I think of, like, the Sue Grafton novels. A is for Alibi. Sue Grafton did every letter of the alphabet before she died. And, Kinsey Millhone, her main sleuth, like, those are set in the '80s, and
Okay.
that was intentional on her part. When I first wrote Meg, I didn't really know what I was doing, so as we talked about, like, I've learned a lot over the years. B, I leaned heavily into the slang of the time. In fact, you got me, remember the Totes for Dictionary?
Oh, yeah.
Which was like a slang dictionary of like what, 20-somethings were saying in 2012.
Right.
And that just like, it doesn't really hold up for me. I think if I went, one of the choices I could have made that would have been easier would have just been to like center it back in 2012 and make those changes and make it super clear. Maybe then I wouldn't have had to do 5 iterations of every book. But to me, it felt cleaner to just remove some of those references. So she could just talk about growing social media. What's fascinating is even when I wrote that in 2012, AI was already like in the books in terms of journalism moving to AI stories, especially sports reporters and everything. So it's been a fascinating look back. But yeah, it's been a bit of a slog.
Yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, that totes for dictionary how the 20-something those 20-somethings are pushing 40 now. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
They're probably not using the same thing that
Totes for dick.
we hopefully don't talk the same as we did when we were.
And I wasn't saying those things. I
Right.
was in my what would I have been like late 30s at the time, writing a 23-year-old, and pulling from a lot of my own experience of being 23.
No, you would pull some of those phrases out, and young Sky Guy would be like,
No, don't say that.
"Don't say that."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be bringing Meg back, and that's been the giant project that I've been working on in secret in my office pretty much 24/7 for the last 2.5 months.
So you've updated dated things.
Uh-huh.
Any changes to the story?
Not really, like, the bones of the story are still all there, like, it's been great to work with my editor, just to, like, have any little points in which we can give Meg a little bit more agency, but, yeah, if you read the first, round of Meg, these will be very similar,
But this is like They'll have new covers and
They have new covers. They have new titles. They're all going to come out within a couple weeks of each other, starting in July. And then the other secret thing that I've been working on is Meg's Return, which will come out in October. And that will pick up 7 years after the last book left off. And it's going to be a holiday rom-com.
That's awesome. And that's another thing that has been interesting watching you do, because I feel like when it comes to writing, like, you have the mystery thing down. Like, you've got your process, you're so creative. Once you have a story, an idea, you just like, you go to work and you just go step 1, step 2, step 3. Rom-coms are different.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Right. So that wasn't like, you couldn't use the same exact I mean, elements of your process for sure,
Right.
but like,
No.
you weren't establishing like this list of suspects and everything.
No. And in fact, years ago, I had mapped out an idea for Meg's Return that would be the same thing, that would bring her back 7 years later. We did this together when we were in Bend, but it was going to be a mystery. And so I had, like, I don't know, maybe 50 pages of that. And initially, I just started to pull from that. And then I was like, oh no, I got to ditch this completely.
Not going to work, because it was going to be a mystery.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. This is called A Cozy Kind of Christmas.
Sounds like a Hallmark special.
It's set in Bend, and it features all of the characters from the OG Meg Read Investigates mysteries. So that's going to come out in October. And then I have a second holiday rom-com that's also going to come out a few weeks after that. This is titled Clued into Love, and I wrote Clued into Love in 2020 during the pandemic, and it has been sitting.
That long?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I wrote it 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been sitting in a closet. So we're gonna launch these as kind of a pair, because for those of you who read rom-coms, this is rom-com, so not spicy, okay?
Well, and this doesn't have anything to do with Meg.
No, but what happens in a rom-com is one of the characters that's introduced in the first book spins off in the second book. So that's what will happen with this.
Just like forever.
Just like, yeah.
And then this spins off, and now it spins off.
Exactly.
Okay. Here, I don't read a lot of rom-coms.
I know. You should.
I probably would like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen enough rom-com movies with you.
Yes,
so.
this is also true.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that, I have been working on the spin-off for the Secret Bookcase Mysteries, the novel Detectives. The first of that is coming out in January.
Oh, that's the other thing that happened before we came back, is like the 6th book in that series. So it just released.
Right.
Yeah. So there was all the lead up to that. Yeah.
Lots of fun book club visits. Thanks for having me. Yeah. And then a new BAKESHOP is coming out in August too. So it's going to be a treasure trove of books in the latter half of the year.
How many books do you have coming out? Like, let's say, because a Body at the Book Fair, the 6th book in the Secret Bookcase Mysteries just came out. So let's count that.
Okay,
so
then 5 Megs.
Okay, that's 6.
Then 2 rom-coms.
8.
And Laying Down the Latte.
So 9 books. 9 books from like middle of June to the end of the year. Yeah. All right, readers.
Get ready, darlings. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before anybody asks, all of these are going to be available as ebooks.
Yep.
In print. And audio.
I don't know about audio for Meg because of the sub rights, but the two we were just I just picked a narrator. I just got to hear auditions for narrators for the holiday rom-coms for sure those. Yep.
Okay. But the print books might not be up for pre-order.
Right.
When the ebooks go live.
Yeah.
This is a very common question that keeps coming up. We have no control over that.
Nope.
Like zero.
They will come. Yeah. Promise. Yeah.
Exactly. So all of these books will be available in print.
Yep.
For everyone who loves that medium.
Yep.
Don't worry.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And then lots more books coming next year too. So get ready.
No,
if you're needing escape, I'm hooking you up right now.
Yeah.
And then the other big piece of news is Ashland Mystery Fest tickets for 2025 just went on sale.
That's coming up fast too.
I know. We've already sold a gob of tickets. The cooking classes are sold out. I just was on a Zoom session with all of the authors and the team from Travel Ashland, and we have so many fun, exciting things in store. I cannot wait.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's like October
16th
16th? Okay.
16th through 19th.
16th through 19th.
Whoa. Woo! Oh, we're gonna get blown away out here. If you're wanting a cozy getaway to the charming village of Ashland, Oregon, come join us. You can find all the information on my website. It is a fully immersive, interactive weekend. There are 14 authors plus 3 debut authors who are releasing their first mysteries that will be part of the festivities. We have panels all around town, mystery dinners where actors are going to act out a full mystery and you're part of it. The big dinner this year will be the sleuth dinner. So you dress up as your favorite sleuth and then you have dinner with an author. Every author hosts a table. So we got to think about our sleuth costumes.
Oh, okay. Well, then, of course, the big event is Beers with the Tech Guy.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. Standing room only. Line.
Every year that sells out. So
yeah.
No, there are no tickets. There's just a password necessary.
That's right. And it might be somewhere secret too.
I don't know yet, but
I know.
You've already planned it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to tell me.
I did tell you. Okay. Now he doesn't remember. I did tell him. Okay. What else? An interactive mystery that you're going to solve around town. My friend Emmeline Duncan is writing it this year, and it's going to be a crime scene that's set up at the historic Ashland Armory. So you're going to have to get some clues from that crime scene and then go around town to different businesses and places and find those. We're going to have single reader meetups with Angela Sanders, who's going to host coffee. So if you're traveling solo, you can find a group of people to go have dinner with or coffee.
And all the panels are at the Armory this year, right?
Yes.
So the big venue, which is great because the audiovisual equipment is there and it's got a lot of seating.
Yes, it's such a cool space. The opening reception will be there. So that kicks off Thursday night and will include hors d'oeuvres and a drink. And then you'll meet all of the authors. We have a fun little game planned to kick off the festivities. And then all the panels will be there. Ashland Springs is hosting the dinner again, and we'll have a closing reception as well with like continental breakfast to meet all the authors, get your books. They're working on, I think, having a shipping area right by where book sales will be so that if you come, you can just ship all your books home. You don't have to cart them back in your suitcase.
Nice.
Or maybe you bring a second suitcase. That's what we wish we had done in Japan.
Right. Yeah. Well, we ended up buying one, but yeah, we should have brought it with us.
We should have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
lots to come.
Lots to come. We're going to have some of the authors on as guests here on Reality Right.
Yeah.
So you'll get to meet them before you meet them in person in October.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Giving people a preview of the authors, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, we are all very excited. The energy is high. It's also just such a delight to get to be in person. I think for me, like as we're leaning harder into the age of AI, like the piece of actually being together in the same space and creating community is so rich and important. And I'm really excited about that piece. And to hug all your beautiful faces and smooch you, whether you want to be or not.
Oh, that's, yeah, it might be a HR violation.
Well, you know, what are you going to do?
So we're going to pack a lot of stuff in between now and October?
We're going to try not to. Yeah.
Or we will be doing these.
We will be doing these.
Places.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be doing these and enjoying summer. And
yeah, we've got some fun topics, some fun shows coming up. Readers behaving badly.
Readers behaving badly. watch out.
And writers not to exclude you. We'll have a writers behaving badly.
Writers behaving badly. I have stored up some emails, some DMs,
stuff.
or some real fun stuff.
We won't name names, but
Never. No,
yeah,
of course
but, but yeah, there will be some good examples. So.
Absolutely. We've got some content to share.
Yeah, for sure.
The gloves are coming off.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but glad to be back.
Yeah, definitely. It's I've missed this for sure. So I'm glad that we've gotten through all that. Although it was all fun stuff. It was just some of it was a lot of work.
It was a gauntlet. It was a little bit of a gauntlet, but
Yeah.
it's a good distraction.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, on that note, until next time.
Until next time.